Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wealth Wednesday show. We are super excited to see you once again, and we believe you are in good health as well as staying financially healthy. Tonight, we are super excited and honored to have an amazing guest, Miss Stacey Swanson, all the way from United States of America, as she comes to discuss with us on how to create a debt elimination strategies
Yeah.
amongst other financial principles so that you can become financially healthy or keep living financially healthy. So, without taking much of uh, your time, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button below, as well as follow us on Instagram and Facebook under the name Financial Wellness Center, as well as our LinkedIn page. Remember, you can type your questions. You can write us a hi in the chat box and let us know you're watching this show from which country, which continent, which town, as well as you can post your questions or any principle you need clarification about, and we shall get to tackle it in our Q&A session, hopefully. So without taking much time, allow me to give our guest, Miss Stacey, the platform for her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about her. Miss Stacey, welcome and thank you so much for giving us your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I'm so happy to be here today. And as you know, I am a big advocate for financial education, financial literacy. I mainly work with women, but for all people of all ages, it's such an important concept because if we can have our finances in order, our economy worldwide will be improved. And who doesn't want that, correct? So,
Yeah.
Um, I own a company called Wealth and Women. I'm, like you said, in the United States, and I put on events. I work with women in group settings. I'm creating a digital course right now, but also we can become money confident. And that's kind of my tagline, that I want women to feel confident to talk about their money, to manage their money, to understand it, and to continue to learn about it themselves. And there's so much out there online, that is accessible worldwide. But it's also great to get into groups with other women and, understand and learn concepts. So at that point when maybe you're currently single, maybe you might be divorced down the road, and we all will probably be widowed at some time, then we have to do this on our own. Do we understand what we're doing? So we want to make good, confident choices. We want to be able to talk to financial advisors and financial professionals and be able to handle our money ourselves. So that's what I am promoting, and I'm so glad to talk today about debt elimination, which is a big key to financial wellness.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for such a profound introduction. And in the course of the week, we've been talking, and I remember reading one of your um, money principle that you live by, which is pay yourself first. And you just mentioned, we can be smart in everything, but managing money could not be something you're smart at. Now, can you just would you elaborate what is this pay yourself first, and what does it mean to pay yourself first?
Certainly. And again, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to helping people everywhere learn about money. But paying yourself first is not a concept that I came up with. It's a well known money principle. And what that means is that when you have income coming in, when you get that paycheck, that you are putting money away for your future self. So you're not just paying the mortgage or the rent and your car payment and the utilities, the heating and air and water. You're also paying you. It's like making yourself a bill in your list of bills to pay every month, and making sure that's the first bill. That's the first place that the money comes out. And a lot of us, and of course, I would recommend you put it to savings. and or investments. But a lot of people would say, I don't have extra money. Like, how am I going to pay that bill? I'm living paycheck to paycheck, which means you don't have any money left over every month and you're waiting for that next paycheck. And what I would say is if you decide to do this, it creates a shift in your thinking and spending habits to where it does work out. So I'm sure if any of us tracked our money, went through our bank account and looked at what we're actually spending our money on, which a lot of people don't even know what they're spending their money on besides the few bills they pay, you could take, $20, $100 of that spending and put it towards your savings and make it work for you. And that is the goal that we're trying to get people to understand, is that, yeah, it's fun to live now and go out with friends and go on vacations and have nice things. But what about when you're retired? Do you want to live in poverty? Or if a pandemic happens, do you want to have some cushion there? Do you want to have some money in savings? And that's what paying yourself first is like making sure you're taken care of first.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. You just mentioned something. A lot of people, they live from paycheck to paycheck. And most of the time, when you tell them to try and save, they tell you they don't have money and they even don't know where their money is going. Now, this leads me to us talking about debt. Debt has become another financial pandemic, especially in the
that's a good one.
Especially in
financial pandemic. That's a good phrase.
Yeah, it has become a financial pandemic in our current generation, because many people are struggling with it and they feel like they are drowning in a hole with no hope. So maybe you could, and somebody maybe wants to, eliminate debt. So what is debt elimination, and what strategy can one use to properly eliminate debt?
Thanks for asking that. Yes, this is a big key item that I teach people on, not just women, but we have a great debt elimination program that we help people work through. And first, let me talk about why debt, eliminating your debt and not continuing to buy things on credit is so important. So when our money comes into our bank account each pay period, maybe it's weekly, monthly, every other week, that money comes into your bank account and you're like, hey, yeah, I've got, $2,000 or whatever it might be. And then on this side, you've got debt that you have to pay. You got to pay the mortgage or the rent. You got to pay your car payment. You got to pay your student loan. Maybe you have a personal loan. Maybe you owe a family member or a friend money. And all that, if you added up all that debt and say it equaled like $78,000, I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people don't do, is they don't add it up and see where they're really at. And if they continue to make those payments, just the minimum amount every month, sometimes it would take 30 years to pay that off. And that's if you don't incur more debt as you're going for 30 years, which is highly unlikely. And over that time, not only are you going to pay $78,000, but you're getting charged interest. So that adds up, and it will come to about $36,000 in interest, depending on, what your interest rate is on each of those things. And so the 78,000 goes to 130,000. And like I said, it's this thing you have to do every month. Now, on the other hand, imagine that there's no bills over here. There's no mortgage, no debtors that you owe any money to. When that money comes into your account, say you're able to put it to whatever you want to. So instead of paying towards debt, you're maybe putting money in savings. You're putting money in an IRA. You're putting money in your 401k or an account for your kids' college. And over time, or going on a vacation, whatever you want to do, right? But those things that you're investing the money in, whether it's savings or a retirement account or a college fund, they are earning interest. So on this side, you were getting charged interest on what you owe. On this side, you're earning interest. So over time, that same amount of money that you were paying over here can now go to this side, and you might make, $150,000 in the same 30 years that you were losing money over here. So that's why we us financial advisors, I'm a life insurance provider, why we so tell everyone, we're very strongly encouraging everyone to get the debt paid off, because then you can do what you want with that money. Go on vacation, buy a new car paid in full, but not getting into more debt. And the reason we're getting into more debt is because we want things right now, or we're emotionally spending. Say you're going through a divorce, your boyfriend breaks up with you, you lose your job. What do a lot of people do? We're going out to eat, I'm so mad, or we're going on vacation or whatever. And they spend things without looking at their budget and making sure that they have the money to do that. So that's why it's important to eliminate debt. But let me talk about the process of how I recommend that you go about that. So just remembering that debt is an obstacle, and you want to get that obstacle out of your way so you can start saving. So first, I would say qualify your debt. Like, if you're talking about the order of paying it off, sometimes it just depends. Some people would say pay off the smallest amount of debt first. Some people would say pay off the one with the highest interest rate first, which is usually a credit card. And there's different ways to do that depending on what your situation is. So that's different for any person. But the main key is just to start creating a plan and doing it. And you can always, I would be glad to, talk to anybody about what's best for them in that situation. So first you want to total up all your debt. Like we talked about, if you don't know how much you have, how are you going to create a plan? So, right, we all need to start from where we're at and see where do we want to go, which is zero debt basically. And then how can we get there, creating that plan? So you would want to list on a spreadsheet or a piece of paper what the debt, who the debtor is. So maybe it's a mortgage company, what your payments are every month. So maybe it's, $2,000 a month, what your interest rate is that you're getting charged, and what you owe in total. And so do that for each of your debts, your credit cards, your personal loans, your car payments, your student or parent college loans, any kind of thing, even a person that you owe, like a family member that's not charging you interest. List those all out and total it up. How much do you owe in total? And how much are you paying every month in total? And that is an eye opener when we realize, oh my gosh, I owe a lot of money, and that's a good motivator to keep you from getting into more debt as well. So then once you create that list, I want you to have a budget. Like, you can't know how much you can pay extra towards your debt unless you have a budget and you know where your money's at. So that means tracking your money, in a spreadsheet. There's all kinds of great software for free, like mint.com. You could get a QuickBooks account, or you could just, like I said, write it down every day on a piece of paper. So knowing what income is coming in and when and how much you're paying out every month is really key, because like we said, the paycheck to paycheck thing, those people are going to say, I don't have any extra money, not only for savings, but towards paying off debt. And then we really can look at, can we cut expenses? Like I said before, can we spend less on groceries? Can we not go get coffee so often? Or can we get a better rate on car insurance or health insurance? Could we trade in our car for something less expensive, which would equal less insurance on it? All those things are ways, and you might think, well, that's $45 or that's $10. That's not going to make a difference, but they will add up. And even if you could only put $80 extra towards your debt, that's huge, right? Yeah. So we encourage people to have that budget and see where they're at, kind of try to cut expenses and say, okay, this is the number that we feel comfortable with. And if you're married, it's real important to do this with your spouse, not just, you gotta agree, because it's not going to work if you're not on the same page. And then next, we want you to take that money. So maybe it's, like we said, $80 a month, and create your emergency savings fund. And what's an emergency savings fund? That is where you try to, you get $1,000 put away, or, it's different for each person, but I would recommend 1,000. And that is in case something happens. So your car breaks down, your air conditioner breaks, or anything that you have to fix, right? There was an emergency that you weren't planning on. Where are you going to get that money to pay that? It's not in your budget. right?
Yeah.
You're living
Yeah.
paycheck to paycheck and you're cutting expenses. So if you have this emergency fund built up, then when those things happen, you can take it out of there and not use a credit card and get into more debt, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the next thing we want you to fund. And if it takes 3 or 4 weeks or 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
paychecks to come up with a
Mm-hmm.
thousand, you can do things like sell clothes or things in your garage you're not using. Try to come up with that money as quickly as possible, and then start putting that $80 a month towards your debt. So again, we've listed them out. You can start with the smallest one. Say, I'll use that as an example. We're still going to pay the minimum payments on each of the other debts. Plus, we're going to pay $80 towards the smallest one. And we're going to do that every month until that one's paid off. And when it gets
Yeah.
paid off, which it'll go quickly, you won't believe how fast it goes. And it's a great boost to, you keep going. And then maybe that minimum payment for that, say, credit card you paid off was $100 a month. So now you're going to add $100 to the 80. You're not just going to take the $100 and spend it. So now you're paying $880 a month towards the next smallest debt, including all those minimum payments. And you just keep doing that. It's called a snowball effect until all the debt's paid off. Now, if you get a windfall of money, say an inheritance or a tax refund, or, there's a bonus maybe at work or something, you want to put that money, at least 90% of it, towards the debt. So that'll be like a one-time big payment towards that smallest debt. You don't want to spread it out over several debts. It's better to focus on one. I know I'm rambling.
Yeah.
And lastly, or two more things, don't get into more debt. Cut up your credit cards or freeze them in a block of ice. So some people do that. So it takes a while to thaw it out and really think about, do I want to do that? If the washing machine breaks down and you need a new washing machine, you don't have to use the credit card, right? You're going to use that emergency fund. And if you use it, you're going to build it back up. You're going to take a few months of paying down the debt and put money back in there. And then lastly is find an accountability partner. Find somebody, of course, if you and your spouse are doing it together, that's great. But it's easy to talk both of yourselves into, well, let's not pay it this month. Let's go on vacation. Have another couple, a parent, a family member, a friend, somebody that can keep you on track, celebrate your wins, keep you encouraged when you're struggling, and it will happen. But you have to create a plan and stick to it.
For sure. And I like the fact that you said it's important to have an accountability partner. If you are married, it should be another couple, because your romantic partner, it's very hard for that same partner to be your accountability partner.
I
It
agree.
will be very difficult. And the strategies you've shared, they're very, very key, especially when it comes to debt elimination. Don't take more debt. Focus on clearing and just start getting started on the other side. And I like the fact that you said interest rate is like a pendulum. On one side, if you save and invest, you gain interest rate.
Right.
On the other side, the more you get deeper in debt, the more you pay interest.
Yeah.
So it's like a pendulum that you can swing it, which side you want it to go for your own good or for your own bad consequences. So you've said about debt elimination, and there is this ideology of debt settlement. What is it? What is a debt settlement? And compared to repaying a debt in full, which one would you advise one to take?
Well, right. So I am talking about debt elimination, which is not consolidation. So we're talking about eliminating your debt, right? Because when you consolidate it, you're basically just kicking the debt down the road, and you're still paying for it, along the way. So that would include if you refinance your house, rolling in credit cards or car loans and things like that into it, because of course a house loan has really good interest rate compared to a credit card. So it is smart in that way, but your debt isn't gone. It's in that loan, which is 30 years long now, right? So you're still paying for that every month. And now you have, credit cards with zero balance on them, which makes it really easy to want to use them again and start building up that debt, which a lot of people do. So, and also on debt consolidation, like you were talking about, sometimes people get into a really hard bind where they are going to lose their house or their car, which gets them to work and back. You know, there's just no extra money. You know, a lot of things happened like that during the pandemic where people were just destitute or had no means to pay their creditors. So that way it's an option to do debt consolidation, or I'm sorry, what did you call it? I can't remember. Settlement, right. So what that means, though, people need to understand that when you do a debt settlement, usually the company that you hire to help you will call your creditors and say, how about if we just pay, 1/4 of what that person owes on their credit card or that kind of thing. Now, this usually doesn't work for a house or a car, but it would work for all other kinds of loans. And they'll negotiate with the creditor. So you're still going to have to pay some money. It's not like your debt's completely gone. But the problem with doing this is that it really injures your credit score for at least 6 months. So all of those creditors that negotiated for you to pay them less of what you owed are going to, put a negative mark on your credit report, which is going to make your score go down. So a lot of people don't realize that part when they do it. They're just like, oh, I need this relief. And sometimes you have to do that. And then, of course, another option would be bankruptcy, which would totally eliminate your debt. But that's on your credit for 10 years and definitely affects your score. So there's all kinds of places that can help people figure this out. What's a possibility for them? It's hard to eliminate debt if you're not able to pay extra towards the minimum, above the minimum. So that's a difference between settlement.
Oh, okay, great. You really expounded on that. And there's this, maybe a lot of people have approached you and they are like, I have a lot of debt and maybe I'm not employed right now. Is there another way I can pay debt with no money?
I don't know about that. I mean, what I try to encourage people to do, like I said, if they can't pay extra, is to take on a second or third job, try to create more income. Maybe you can do something online or on the weekends, like mow people's yards. I used to do ironing for people. Like they would wash their clothes and have this big pile of clothes that needed ironed. So they would bring me their ironing and I would charge like $1 an item, and that was just an extra way to make money, however you want to use it. But you really have to find some way to make some money if you're going to pay towards your debt. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with settlement or bankruptcy.
Sure. And, let's talk about debt and equity. I know you're a founder of Wealth and Women. So at some point, you've come across these issues of debt and equity, especially for businesses. Now, what's the difference and which one is better, especially for people who are looking for capital to either run their business or to even start their businesses?
Right. So in a business stance, debt would mean you're borrowing money from lenders like a bank to fund your business, to keep it going, to pay yourself, to pay the rent, say, to buy product. And that is, you're required to pay that back. Now, often they'll give you a time frame, like you might not have to start paying it back for 3 months or 6 months because they know you're not going to be bringing in money right away. But that has pros and cons. Obviously, you're paying interest. It's a debt. You're going to have to pay it back. But you own the business in whole. Like the bank doesn't own part of your business now that they've loaned money to you. Equity is a little different. It's where you're raising money from investors and you're giving them interest in your company. So they're giving you money to start a business, to start a new product line in your business, say, or start manufacturing something. But they now own part of your business, and you're not required to pay them back because now they're part owners. Now, if they left, wanted to be bought out, or they, they're also going to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So if you make a lot of money, they're also going to make money, just like you would as an owner. And you just want to be really careful with that, because they might want to say, no, I think you should do this. They might want to be part of the decision making, and you have to have that all spelled out. I would definitely seek a lawyer's advice before getting involved in something like that. And then I don't know, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. It just depends on each individual person. Some people definitely don't want anybody involved because they want to do it their way. Or some people, that might be the only way they can do it, right? Because they can't get a loan. Or some people might go into business, say, with a family member or a friend because you both believe in the same idea. But then, if you ever got an argument or disagree, then obviously that puts a strain on your relationship. So it's best to seek legal advice or accounting and tax advice on that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. So, to our audience, thank you so much for joining in. We really appreciate your presence. We are with Miss Stacey Swanson of Wealth and Women company that is focused on helping people to become smart in handling their money, as well as become financially free. Now, if we are talking about debt elimination strategy, and she has just shared quite a number of strategies, as well as we are talking about debt in terms of your business and how it can affect your business. Now, if you have any question, feel free to write in the comment box. We shall be answering it towards the end of the show. You can continue to tag your friends, share this link out, as well as share it on your Facebook and other social media pages. So, Miss Stacey, what is estate planning?
So estate planning, first of all, we can all agree that every person is in the same boat as far as no matter what, we're all going to die at some point, correct? Yeah. And we can't take our stuff with us. We can't take our assets. Our assets are our house, our anything you own, our car, our jewelry, our, bed or clothes. We can't take that stuff with us, right? So what's going to happen to that? And that's where estate planning comes in. Instead of just leaving the headache, the cost, and the, all the pain that it costs fighting maybe amongst family members to figure out what to do with your assets once you're gone, which a lot of people don't want to deal with it. And that's what happens. Instead of doing that, this is a plan where you choose ahead of time what you want to happen with all of your assets and who they're supposed to go to. So assets might include property that you own, businesses, buildings, if you have investments, any kind of IRAs, mutual funds, any of that kind of stuff, life insurance, cash, so like bank and savings accounts or actual money like in a safe or something, vehicles, equipment, or any items of value, like I said, jewelry, maybe china, maybe your Bible, things that are important to you. So it specifically draws that out in an estate plan, what's going to happen to all of those items and who gets them, so forth. The great thing about an estate plan is that it is, nobody can mess with it. While you're still alive, you have this estate. You can remain totally anonymous, so nobody can ever even know that it's your estate, because you can name it ABC estate if you want. And then when you pass away, it's not going to go through probate. It's not, I mean, I guess this is at least in the United States, probate meaning it's published in the newspaper. There's a court hearing saying, does anybody have any, debt that this person needs to pay you, that kind of thing. And it also protects you from any kind of lawsuit. So say your teenage son gets in a car accident and injures somebody, they hire some fancy lawyer who he's going to go look and see what all of my assets do I have. Well, they're not going to see that I have a trust and my house is in there, my car. They can't come after any of those things in the lawsuit. So it protects you from that.
And is there a difference between a will and an estate plan?
Yes, definitely. So will is more like just you writing a piece of paper. It's still notarized, it's still a legal document, but again, it's not going to keep you out of probate. It's going to be, your will be published in the newspaper, or people have access to get it at the courthouse. It doesn't protect you from any person can come and contest the will or say that person told me I could have his car. I mean, there's so many loopholes, and it takes a lot of lawyer fees. It takes time in court. It takes lots of money to pay for all that stuff. And in the meantime, all of your assets are held up. So say the house is going to go to this person's son. Well, that son doesn't get the house right away because it's all, and same with the checking and savings accounts. So somebody's got to keep that house up, keep paying the mortgage, all of that stuff before they even get their inheritance. And it's really drug out. So it's just not as secure of a way to give your wishes for your end of life.
Oh, nice. I really didn't know about that. Thank you so much for opening our eyes. Now, you've really given a detailed explanation about estate planning, and I'm just wondering, what are the main steps in creating an estate plan, and what factors should one consider while they are drafting or creating one?
So first of all, it's important to make sure that it's a estate planning lawyer that's creating your estate plan, because a lot of people try to save money and go around that, and it's not in your best interest or your family's in the long run. What we do is I work with a financial advising firm, the Wealth Store, and we meet with clients. We kind of talk to them about what an estate plan is and how we'll help them. And we gather all this information from them on a form. And then we give it to one of our estate planning lawyers to create. Then we would go back and talk to our clients and make sure that's what they wanted. There's so many options and ways you can do things that it's important to really talk things through with your spouse if you have one, including your children if they're adults and they can understand, and making sure everybody's on the same page before you sign the documents. But what's important to have in your estate plan is, first of all, a medical and financial power of attorney. So what a power of attorney does is it gives another person permission legally to make decisions for you. So say you're in a car accident and you're in a coma and you can't, make decisions, obviously, about your health. A medical power of attorney would give your spouse, your child, your children, the permission to make decisions about what to do with your health. It would also, the financial power of attorney would give them access to your money so that you could pay for their care, so you could keep paying for the house or the car. You don't want all that stuff to just be let go because you're in the hospital. So, and it's good to have those on file with the financial planner and the bank. So if you personally were in an accident, I would make sure you have the financial power of attorney, like a copy of it, on file at your financial advisor's office, at your bank, wherever you might have money that your financial power of attorney person might need access to. That way they're not trying to find it and go to the bank. The bank already has it on file.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. So that's one piece. And second is making sure you name a guardian for your child or children if they're under 18. So it's very important that you as a couple or you as a parent choose who you want to take care of your children if something happened to you and make sure you talk to that person and they are on board with accepting that responsibility. And I know we all think, well, that will never happen, or we don't want to think about that happening, but it's so
Yeah.
important so that family members aren't fighting over these kids and that their best interest is taken at heart. And that would include your finances too. So say you're leaving an inheritance to the kids, what do you want to happen with that money? You don't want to obviously give an 18-year-old $300,000. So you would want somebody who would be taking care of that.
Yeah.
Thirdly, you want to make sure you have life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care, so that money goes to your beneficiary to take care of your house, your business, that kind of thing, in case you do become, you pass away or whatever. So that's a big piece of the estate plan. And then, and then the plan of who's going to get your assets and what's going to happen to the business, the house, all those kind of things. And then it's good to let everybody know in your family, so there's, not arguing afterwards.
Yeah.
That's what
And
happens, though.
true. It happens a lot of time. I've seen it, and you end up wondering, is there another way all this matter could have been settled down? And you have more points?
No, that was it.
Okay, perfect. You really answered the question very well. And personally, I have learned more about estate planning because I was wondering what's the difference between an estate plan and a will, and you have made it very, very clear. Now, let's talk about your favorite money quote. Uh, I really loved it. Maybe you could just expound a little bit more and tell us why it's your favorite.
Right. Well, the first time I heard it was actually just a few months ago. And I was just like that is so amazing
Yeah.
and such an easy concept to understand, and something I want to share with people everywhere, because people think they can't be wealthy when they're a teacher or a construction worker or not making, much more than minimum wage. And that's not true. First of all, it doesn't matter. Well, I'll say what it is. My quote is, wealth doesn't come from what you earn. It comes from what you keep of what you earn. So that means no matter what your salary is, no matter what you're making per hour, if you're not keeping any of it, you obviously aren't keeping any wealth, right? It's just coming in and going out, like the paycheck to paycheck. This usually happens because we're not tracking our money. We're not managing it. We don't know what's going on, like we talked about before. So even though you're making that smaller wage, it's so important to keep part of it for the emergencies, for your future, not getting into a lot of debt, because that's not keeping any of the money either, right? You're thinking, I want to buy this car, but I don't have enough money. So, we're like, oh, what's $300 a month? Well, that's part of your income that you're not keeping every month. So it kind of encompasses everything: savings, not getting into debt, saving for your future, because really we think retirement's so far away. Oh, I'll take care of that later. Or they have some kind of investment product at work. You need to realize, if you don't want to live on $4,000 a month right now, you're definitely not going to live on $4,000 a month when you're retired. So instead of using all your money now in your regular working life, try to save some of it for your future self so you can really enjoy it and not be in poverty, because a lot of seniors are, especially after their spouse dies, or they're relying on the government or their business that they worked for to fund their retirement. And often that doesn't happen without sitting down with a financial advisor, which I know a lot of people think they don't need one if they don't make very much money. But a financial advisor can look at your Social Security or whatever your investments you currently have, and they can make a plan and show you where you're short. And that's a really good thing to do. And that's usually totally free, just to sit down and get that consultation.
True. And a lot of questions are coming in my mind, and I think we'll have to do another session. But I'm
Okay.
gonna ask you like two more. What do small business owners need to know to protect themselves and their businesses?
Number one, I would say put your business in a trust. Even if you
Okay.
don't have a trust, which is part of the estate plan, even if
Mhm.
you don't have a trust for you personally, having your business
Mhm.
in the trust again protects you from lawsuits. If somebody falls at your place of business, if
Mhm.
again you're sued by
Mhm.
for something you did outside of your business, they can't come
Mhm.
after your business and take it away. So it's very
Mhm.
important to have that in a trust because it's a separate entity. It doesn't belong to you anymore. Basically, it belongs to
Mhm.
the trust, but you still can sell, buy another property, whatever. Um, and then the other thing is to make sure you're tracking your money, like see where you're at. Like you need to look at your analytics. What are you making every month? What are you spending every month? Do you have
Mhm.
debt that you borrowed to start your business that you need to pay off? And
Mhm.
don't be mixing it with your personal money. That's the number
Mhm.
one no in accounting is you
Yeah.
need separate accounts. You don't use
Mhm.
the business money. Maybe you've got a lot of money in the business. You don't use that to go on vacation or buy yourself a car. You need to keep them
Mm.
separate and make sure you're paying yourself a salary every, 2 weeks or something,
Yeah.
and not just be continually pulling and transferring money back and forth.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. That's a very good point. And lastly, what is the number one thing everyone needs to know about money as we wind the session tonight?
Um, I guess just that we all have these thoughts and feelings about money that we learned growing up, which is our money
Mm.
mindset. Maybe your parents thought about money. Maybe they were skimping all the time and they couldn't buy everything you wanted. Maybe you were homeless, or maybe your
Mm.
parents had money and they were spending it left and right, which
Mhm.
is, fun, but if you can
Mm.
afford it, but also not doesn't teach you things. So then we
Mhm.
all are thrown into this life, this adulthood,
Mhm.
without any
Mhm.
education or training or
Mm.
even guidance on how to handle our money, right? So that
Yeah,
is the
sure.
biggest key, is to have financial literacy, to train yourself. Do you know someone or someone's parents that are really good with
Mhm.
money? Go talk to them and ask them what they've done. Um,
Mhm.
Ask your friends and family, what are they doing? Not that you have to follow their advice, but it's really important to try to understand and educate yourself about and manage your money and not ignore it. Not knowing where it goes is key. Um, and just taking care of and managing your money. And if you've made mistakes, if you had a bankruptcy, maybe you had to do
Mhm.
that debt settlement, maybe you got in over your head and you wished you wouldn't have sold that house or bought that house, just know
Mhm.
that you can forgive yourself for all those things because nobody taught us any different. We were just trying to figure it out, right? So forgive yourself
Yeah.
for those things. Try to do better each day going forward
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
just try to make good money choices.
Thank you very much, Miss Stacy, for that amazing and insightful session. To our audience, thank you very much for staying with us till this time. I can see there are some people who are commenting. One of them is Akabet Kabele. He or she is saying he's watching from Spring Valley, Nairobi, Kenya. That is in Africa. Then we also have Anyo Kabi. She says very informative. Thank you for the wonderful discussion. We really
Awesome.
appreciate you, Miss Stacy, and we hope we shall get to have another session with you because I feel we have more to discuss and share with our audience. Now,
Well, thank
as
you.
we yeah, as we wind up, maybe you could tell the audience how they can find you or where they can find you or how to contact you in case someone needs to get some clarification or needs your products and services.
Sure. Again, my company is Wealth and Women, and my website is wealthandwomen.net, and that's all spelled out. Um, And I do host monthly debt elimination webinars where I go live and kind of explain our debt elimination process and how we can help you get that going and get debt paid off in a quicker amount of time. So you can always sign up for the link when I go live doing that. And my email is wealthandwomen@gmail.com. So I hope you all contact me. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and YouTube. And I look forward to meeting with you again and maybe having you on my show, Sheila.
Oh, thank you very much. I look forward to it, actually.
Okay. Well, thanks again for
Yeah.
having me on today. I love talking about debt and helping people with their money. So thanks
We
again.
have learned we have learned a lot, and I must say you have vast wisdom in the field, and I believe our audience has also benefited just like as I have. Now, as we
Thanks.
wind the session tonight, we want to thank everyone for being with us, and we encourage you to share this link out with your friends, your family, your social media pages. Let people get to learn how to eliminate debt. As I said while we were starting, debt has become another financial pandemic in this era, and it's good to learn the strategies that can help you eliminate debt.
Yes.
I also encourage us to keep subscribing to our YouTube channel so that you can get to watch these kind of videos and become financially literate as you continue living financially healthy. Until then, stay safe and hope to see you next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.